I was born Catholic, and I always felt a very profound spiritual attachment to God and to the religious life, a religious life of service. I studied with the Benedictine monks, and they really presented an example of really prayer and service and connection. And when I was a very young boy in Colombia, of course, as in much of Latin America, especially a couple of years ago, there was pretty much society was completely 99.5% Catholic. So that was the only religious avenue that was open. It's the only thing I knew. And really, since I personally had that desire of connection and fulfillment, it seemed like a pretty obvious route for me. Although I had that very strong instinct and that very strong desire, longing for service and connection, I always, being an inquisitive person, always found many things, many unanswered questions. And then I discovered, my grandfather revealed to me that the family was of Jewish origin, Sephardic Jews that had been forced to convert during the Inquisition. And that really opened new panoramas. I started reading about Judaism. I started learning about the Jewish way of doing things, and I felt a really powerful attraction towards everything Jewish. That was, in the beginning, intellectual. It was an intellectual fascination with Judaism and how Jews approached issues of redemption and salvation and service and how they read Scripture. And then, when I was 19 years old, I visited Israel, and that really created a personal connection that solidified the fact that this is where I really wanted to be, that this is the path where I thought I could do the most good and where I could find religious fulfillment. The thing that really made the shift, I think, for me, was when I was at the Western Wall, at the Wailing Wall, as it is called here in the West. And I felt an incredible sense of incompleteness. I knew that I descended from this rich history, and now that I was seeing it with my very own eyes, and I was seeing that it was not a biblical culture sometimes in the foggy past, but really something that was alive and breathing and wonderful and beautiful and complex and rational, and that created a profound sense of brokenness, a profound sense of, if only my ancestors had clung to their traditions, I would be part of this. And that is what really prompted me to convert, to return to Judaism fully. I am an ordained rabbi. After I converted, I did a lot of academic work in the Hebrew University of Jerusalem, then in the conservative yeshiva, finally in the Jewish Theological Seminary in New York, where I was ordained as a rabbi in 2009. And now I serve as the Southwestern coordinator for a Jewish nonprofit called Bechol Lashon. Now, Bechol Lashon means in every tongue. This is a Jewish nonprofit that celebrates and studies and promotes ethnic and racial diversity within the Jewish people. Outside the borders of America, the work that Bechol Lashon does is really with emerging communities. Communities that either have embraced Judaism in the recent past, or communities that are historically connected to the Jewish people, but are in places that you wouldn't immediately recognize as Jewish, like India or Africa, or my work is mostly in Latin America and the American Southwest. So what I do, part of it is, most of it, education in Spanish. There is not really a lot of quality Torah material in Spanish that addresses the particular needs of these emerging communities. That really have to start almost at zero. They have maybe ancestral memories or ancestral practices, but Judaism is a very complex way of life. They really have to start almost from scratch. And I try to provide easy avenues in Spanish so people can, for example, learn how to pray, or learn Hebrew, or learn the customs, the traditions, the holidays. That is most of what I do. There is, of course, also a component of activism, of reaching out to these communities and trying to build bridges with the established Jewish communities, whether they be in Israel or in America, or especially in the places where these communities are, if there is a Jewish community. Some of these people are really in the middle of the Amazon, and there is really no Jewish community that they can connect with. So I also serve as a bridge builder, trying to create connections between these emerging communities and the communities in the global Jewish community. And the third component is community builder, is people who have learned with me for a long time and who have really decided that this is the path that they want to follow. Then what I do is I help them organize their own Jewish community in places where there is no Jewish community, and eventually go through the process of conversion to Judaism and establishing their own independent Jewish communities that honor their past but also create new and interesting avenues of being Jewish for the future. There's already a very long line of communities that want to undergo this process, but it is a difficult process. It took me many years really to learn enough and to digest all that I needed. But thank God we have time, and there will be more and more small but growing emergent Jewish communities throughout Latin America. That's my dream.